Well, hello all, and welcome to another edition of Not Just Crew. I'm Trevor Jenkins, your host for this evening. Seem to be pretty much on my own. Simon, I think, is either working or watching us on the big screen at home, and Alex is busy recording some podcasts for entrepreneurs. Anyway, this evening, we thought we'd do a quick special on the vaccinator role. It seems to be a big thing that's coming through in our post. But join us in a few seconds after these titles.
Not Just Crew has been internationally inspired by you.
Well, hello, welcome back, and thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, we've done this quick special. It's going to last about 25 to 30 minutes, as we've been seeing that most of the posts on our Facebook group and the inboxes we get seem to be about the vaccinator role. I've applied for it myself, and just to give you a quick update as where I am, I finished all the e-learning courses, gone through all the checks, and just waiting to start to happen. But so we're going to chat about that. So if you have got any questions or even any answers, please post them in the group or questions on here, and we'll try and answer. But even if we can't answer them because we won't have all the answers, you might be able to help your fellow colleagues on this. But anyway, tonight we've got Natalie Armstrong. She's a NHS practice manager, so she's really on the front line. She has been dealing with vaccinators, and her industry has changed massively since the start of this. So I'm going to bring Natalie, and then later on we'll be speaking to somebody who has volunteered to become a vaccinator, FSM, Kelly Senior. So I'm going to bring Natalie in. Hello, Natalie. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, you're before we sort of go into the depths, so just give us a quick taste of your background. How did you get into the NHS? Was it something you trained in originally?
No, it was just a role that came up. I've worked there for 25 years now, and it was just something that I liked the sound of when I looked at the job description, and I've just been there ever since.
So you've been there sort of coming up for over a couple of decades now, a bit like me within the airlines, a bit like our guest Kelly joining us later. So I mean, we've had this job comfort for a fair few years. All of a sudden last year, and again even this time last year, we probably hadn't even heard of COVID. I'd heard it sort of banded around, but it was always something that was a long way away. It was never going to come here because none of us have experienced anything like this ever. How did you see your job subtly change, and how quickly did it happen?
Really quickly. We were getting daily emails just updating us as things progressed, really. And then obviously when everything locked down in March, the practice had to change massively because obviously we had to close the surgery down so that we could keep everybody safe. Which also meant, because of the distancing rules as well, that we were really restricted as to how many patients we could allow into the practice. And obviously at that point as well, it was a bit unclear as to symptoms for people. So then there was the thing there as well of having to make sure that patients that were coming into the practice weren't carrying anything in with them as well. So we had to go down the route of checking temperatures when patients were coming in, asking questions over the telephone, warning people that they couldn't come in if they had symptoms, and everybody that was seeing patients are dressed in full PPE as well. So everything changed more or less overnight, really, which meant bringing in massive changes as to whether the practice worked as well. So we've gone from having everybody in face-to-face to literally doing majority of things via telephone or video link, which has been a big change for everybody involved, really.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that. I mean, literally, similar to the airlines, we heard these things, and then bit by bit, it was changing. How were your patients reacting in terms of, was it what we're hearing, that generally the older people were scared. I know that all haven't been, and the younger people weren't. And what was the reaction of the your health professionals with you in your own surgery? I mean, although your workload increased, how seriously were they taking it when it first happened?
I think very seriously, because of the amount of information that we were getting through on a daily basis. You were literally having to read everything, make changes rapidly. And obviously we weren't getting a massive amount of different information to what the government was pushing out as well. So we had patients ringing in trying to get advice, and we weren't really getting anything different to what the general public were being told. So that was difficult to try and manage as well.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that. What was happening in your own surgery in terms of if staff went down? Was there a backup plan? The reason I say that, surgeries around here, you know, all of a sudden they were having to physically close because they literally did not have any health professionals to help out, or clinical staff at the front, or reception staff. Was that a major factor within your own surgery?
No, luckily we didn't actually have anybody that went down with it. We've been really lucky, but we were really quite quick at getting on with making sure that everywhere was being cleaned. Our nursing staff were going around cleaning door handles and places where people were touching on an hourly basis, which I think really did help. So we were really lucky that we haven't had anybody that's actually gone down with it and taken anybody else out with them as well. Obviously everybody's wearing masks now as well, and we just made sure that everybody was working at least 2 meters apart. So we were lucky in that respect, but we've got neighbouring practices that we could have buddied up with if we'd needed to. And
was that sort of plan? Was that was planned out quite early on? Was it to sort of buddy up with another surgery?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we have these sort of things in place anyway for like when flu comes around, because obviously that can wipe places out as well. Obviously not as bad as what COVID has, but there's always that risk that could happen. So we already have that sort of thing in place, and we do work closely with the neighbouring practices as well, which it's good to have that kind of relationship with other practices as well. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and then say, I think it was about midway last year, say July, August, it seemed to get sort of semi back to normal. Was your, say, not your surgery, but surgeries in general, do you believe that they thought pretty much that was the end of it before the second wave came along?
No, I think we were still pretty cautious that we needed to still make sure that we were doing everything that we needed to keep everybody safe. We always had that thing of, we were aware something was coming. It was just, when was it going to hit? So we just had to make sure that we carried on really until we heard otherwise, which I'm pleased we did, really, because who knows what would have happened if we hadn't.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, and then I suppose before these vaccines sort of came along, what how are you actually able to treat people who hadn't been admitted to hospital? Was there any, I don't suppose there was that much that could be done?
We have a hot site, which all practices have to have now as well, which is somewhere where they can take patients that have COVID symptoms or that we're not sure about, because the last thing you want to do is have somebody like that within the practice, because then it means the whole site, if the patient was COVID positive, would need to be deep cleaned, which obviously would then mean that the whole place would have to be closed down. So we have a hot site that the patients could be taken to. The doctor would go in there, examine the patient, then they would have to strip all the PPE off before they came back to the cold site. So that works quite well, and we've been lucky in that respect. It's quite close by as well, so it's literally within walking distance for the GPs. Yeah.
And how quickly do you think the second wave hit? And the reason I sort of mentioned that, you know, our fellow presenter Simon Costello, we were chatting to him, and the second wave seemed to hit the north of England very quickly and in quite large numbers. How quick was the reaction? You sort of touched on it earlier, but was it something you were sort of semi-expecting anyway?
Yeah, we were expecting it. So like I say, we're just making sure we're keeping on top of everything. We've been really lucky that we've not really been affected by it, but I know other practices that have been really, really affected by it and had a lot of staff that have been off. But like I said, that support mechanism that we've got, We've got the ability to be able to go into each other's practices and use PCs so that you can still have your admin that will be working, even though we might need to close parts of the building down. So at least it keeps the general running of the practice going.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I was going to say, bring it to sort of almost present day. Even though I think, well, saying that, it's about two months ago, when they sort of actually announced that a vaccine had been cleared to use, the Pfizer one. Was there a sort of communal sort of sigh of relief within your sort of surgery? And how long did you expect it to be before you sort of literally saw the first doses arriving?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, yeah, massive sigh of relief, because the staff are exhausted. You know, they've not had a break. They've been working sometimes 6 days a week. And it's tiresome because not all patients really kind of understand why we're still closed. And it's like, well, this vaccine's around now. You should be open. Everywhere else is open. Why are you not open? So, yeah, it's trying to get, the patients.
Are you really getting a lot of unhappy sort of people? And that's the only sort of we're on air, so I'm trying to describe in a way I wouldn't describe it the way I normally would. So really, I'm sort of a bit saddened and quite sort of shocked that you're sort of getting that reaction. Really,
we do, yeah, and I think it's because people are frightened as well, but they don't really understand the ins and outs of it, and they don't understand that it's not that we're trying to be awkward, but there's also the fact that we can't distance patients either. Yeah. So, for instance, our waiting room, we could only have 6 patients in at a time, whereas we would normally have, each GP would normally see 15, 16 patients in a session. So you can imagine the kind of footfall we would have coming through the practice, and we just can't do that. So it's difficult in trying to explain to them. I don't think they really understand the reasons behind it, and it's not until you actually explain what's going on that it kind of clicks. All right, it's not that they're being awkward; it's that they can't do enough to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, no, and it's a shame that sort of message hasn't really gone out. Well, look, bring it to now, because as you know, and sadly, Angus Walsh, the BBC medical correspondent, ruined it slightly. He's really sort of slated cabin crew by couldn't believe in that people serve him his dinner would be giving them injections. He later apologised. I did try to get him on this show, but I had absolutely no response. But to be honest, I really wasn't surprised. But now we're in this world where the vaccines are being given, and did you actually have to wait long for the first batches to arrive with you?
We got our first batch literally the week before Christmas. We were in wave 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we started vaccinating literally just before Christmas. They're not fantastic at how quick they actually let you know what vaccine's coming. So it's very, very quick turnaround, especially for Pfizer, because obviously it's got to be used within 3.5 days of it being defrosted. In that in itself, when you've got, well, between our practices, 975 patients to contact, and your first cohort of patients are over 80, and very hard of hearing, majority of them. So it was taking the staff kind of something like 7 minutes per patient by the time the staff had gone through all of the rigmarole of what they had to ask the patients before they made the appointment. So it's a really time-consuming effort as well.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And then you heard about this army of vaccinators were going to be unleashed, be the cavalry come to your aid. What are you seeing in your practice? Are you seeing vaccinators you don't know?
No, we've had nothing like that from our end. We're literally using practice staff, so GPs, nurses, pharmacists, which we're managing with that at the moment. But it's, I mean, I don't know how long it'll be. It depends on how long it's going to take to roll out as well. But as you can imagine, the staff are tired. I mean, they're tired, but the pull together from the staff has been phenomenal. Yeah, I think it's the fact that the vaccine's now here and we're managing to get through patients. I mean, I was at a clinic at the weekend there, and it's so lovely to see the patients coming in and being so appreciative that they're getting the vaccine. That in itself, because we've not seen patients for nearly a year now as well. So now that everybody's coming in, it's nice to kind of have a little bit of normality.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's going to get back to normal. But you've had nothing in this pipeline as you will be getting sort of speedily trained vaccinators coming to join your team, or is it a case that you have to request for them to join you?
We've not had anything through as yet to say that anything's available. But there is the option, if we were struggling, that we can feed further up the chain to just say we need some help here to kind of get things rolling. We've got a retired GP and nurses that have come back. Obviously, they've come back as per the guidance that said that they can come back and help. So we've got that back in now. But we're managing at the moment, you know. It's not that we're kind of really struggling. If we were, then we would be asking for it. But we've not had anything down yet saying that that's available.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'll be speaking to you in a moment about the what's going to be sort of happening in the very near future. In the meantime, I'm going to bring in Kelly Senior, a flight service manager at Virgin Atlantic. I think she, like me, has applied. I think she's been doing other volunteering, but I haven't spoken to Kelly properly for well over a decade, so it's nice to catch up. It's a shame it has to be under these circumstances. So welcome, Kelly Senior. I'm going to bring on screen. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me tonight.
No, honestly, I'll tell you what, it's nice to see. As I said before, it's a shame it's under these circumstances. So give us a bit about your story. I know you've been with Virgin, well, over a couple of decades, 22 years. Yeah. Still not as long as me, but it's quite scary. But yeah, 22 years now. How have you found it last year, and how has it affected you?
Well, Trevor, I mean, you know, the airline industry hasn't seen anything quite like this ever, has it? So it's a whole new kettle of fish. I think it's really everybody, cabin crew, the airlines had to jump into survival mode, and you know, just basically do whatever they can to survive, really. I took a year sabbatical, so I'm due back in April this year, although I'm not sure what that'll look like, whether I'll be furloughed. I haven't got anything in the pipeline as to training or anything like that right now. So I took a 119 job, booking people in on the coronavirus lines. Enjoyed that for a while, and then as soon as I saw the opportunity to become a vaccinator, I was sort of chomping at the bit. Because it's such a great opportunity to be able to bypass all the channels to do it, and also just to try and get us all back on track and my effort to try and beat the coronavirus, really.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm sort of in a similar situation as you. You showed me earlier the back of your T-shirt. Can you give us a little peek again? We don't normally do this on the show, but yeah, a cheeky little peek. Yeah, look at that. That's good. It's nice to know the airline, and I know many other airlines have done it as well. I've got colleagues who've been working with me I've been working for them actually at a Wingman project in Stanmore, and they've been sort of full on. So it's so nice to so nice to see. So at the moment, so you what stage are you at now? So you've applied for your to be a vaccinator. What's happened after that?
So I noted the interest back in November, like most people. And then I think what they were trying to do was get a bank of people, see what the interest was going to be like, and then get us all trained up as sort of on standby. And I think that's where we are at the minute. We're on standby to sort of get rolled out. So it is a long and lengthy process. I am up to, I've had the DBS checks. I've been given sort of a contract, well, not a contract, but a pre-contract to tell me where we'll be deployed and what the job would entail. And wow. I've also just been, well, I don't think it's a contract as such, but it's laying out everything, all the terms and what your roles are going to be as a vaccinator. And I'm waiting for the Optima occupational health check. Now that's been 2 weeks. I know many people are in the same position as me. And it seems to be taking up to three weeks. I've given them a polite call, and they just said that there's a backlog with the NHS professionals sending the data onto them in turn to contact me.
Yeah, because I mean, some of the I say reports. Some of the sort of messages we're getting is, and I'm guessing it depends where you are in the country. Some are getting so worried that nothing's going to happen. They put all this sort of work in and literally raring to go, honestly, raring to go. And I've seen some have started. So I'm just wondering if it's a regional sort of delay that we're having. But I'm saying, what did I see the other week? I saw somebody who's literally been, they said they were literally like you, really signed contracts, and then all of a sudden they literally sort of got a note saying, "Oh, we don't need any more vaccinators, and we're going to let the NHS professionals know." But I know another case where they're just waiting their checks, and yet they still haven't heard anything for about 3 or 4 weeks. And I know crew are so keen to really help. And I don't want to keep badgering the agencies that are trying to get them in their fixed position. So when you said you sort of know where you're working, after what stage was that? After your DAB checks?
No, we got before we did the e-learning, we got a sort of contract. I don't know whether I was supposed to get it actually. It just said your base, it would be Sussex, but obviously that was just generic, because what I did initially was noted my interest myself through NHS professionals. And then when Virgin Atlantic merged with NHS professionals and was all singing and dancing, cabin crew, come on, be vaccinators, I sort of clicked on that route as well. So I don't know whether mine got a little bit mixed up. So it's got me down as Sussex, although I've spoken to someone on the NHS chat, the web chat, and they've confirmed that I want Sunderland or South Tyneside. Now I know that we've got a mass vaccination centre up here, which I'm dying to get in and start jabbing people. I mean, it's just the idea of it's fantastic. But like you say, Trevor, is it that regionally people can cope without cabin crew, firefighters? Are they really just going to be, for now, until the doctors, the nurses start doing all of the other work that they used to do, sort of having holidays, things like that? Is that when we are going to be brought in? Because remember, this is going to be, coronavirus isn't going to go away. This is going to be here for years to come. And if they're talking about giving us boosters in autumn, again this year, by the time we get the first rollout and then all the boosters and then the flu jab, are they going to keep these mass vaccination centres open? And the GP practices are going to have to start dealing with patients who in the background have been, suffering throughout COVID.
Yeah, that's great. Natalie, I was going to ask you, if your practice was offered crew, and I don't always really know whether people appreciate how quite trained up cabin crew are, but do you think they'd be welcomed, or would they have to keep quiet about what they previously did as a job?
To be honest, I don't think that would be a problem with that at all. I mean, obviously, I know how well trained you are, but provided that you've got all the qualifications and you've done all the training, then I don't see what the issue is.
No, I don't know either. But look, while we're there, we just had a couple of messages coming in. Actually, they're mainly saying, doing really well, Natalie. Love it, Kelly. Here we go. Right. This one's, I think it's been such a huge response that have been inundated with applications that are working for them. Hang on there, because you are needed in one role or another. And another one, what was saying here, it's, I think we know this chap. He told me he was working. How he gets a chance to message you, I don't know. It's so amazing to see so many crew from everywhere that want to offer help. And it's absolutely mind blowing. It is. But I say they do want to. I think crew are frustrated because they really do want to help, and I know I've mentioned that before. Only because I'm feeling it as well. I mean, I seem to have volunteered for everything other than wingman. Nothing's happened. I signed up straight away for the Nightingales Hospital, but then they weren't needed. So yeah, I think we're just frustrated because we want to use our skills. We want to get out of their house as well, and it's sort of good to work as a team. Here we've got another message here. What's it saying? I think all the NHS staff are exhausted and are having to work on sugar and caffeine. Natalie, I think you would have the answer to that. What's the is that the case?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah. Like I say,
Yeah.
our staff are working above and beyond. They really are. But it's got to be done at the end of the day. And I think we're kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now that the vaccines are coming in thick and fast. We would just be happy to get more vaccines so we can get more patients done.
Yeah. Well, say, Kelly, you're a member of a Facebook group, and now I know it is an invite only. What was the name of the group? Is it the
It's Crew to Vaccinator, and they've got a lot of followers, lots and lots of crew on there. Well, obviously, different airlines, and some people seem to be getting through. I think what I've found, because I did a little bit of research, is that if you are going through St John's Ambulance as a volunteer, you're likely to be in there already. If you are going through, if you're already a healthcare professional but doing something else, the chances are you're in there. If you're a nurse or you're into aesthetics or anything like that, and you're not working right now, you can be in there. And you've got the NHS professionals, which is a huge bank, and you've got something called TRAC. People seem to be getting in through TRAC. I don't know whether that's the right name for it, but that's the lingo used on social media. So it seems like there's different people are getting in through different channels, but NHS professionals does seem to be quite slow, painstaking slow. I mean, I understand completely. You know, they must be inundated with applications. I get that completely. So I think it is a case of just sitting tight. We will be used at some point. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been put through DBS checks and been given the e-learning for a start, because that's given us lots of information. If they weren't planning on using us, I think they wouldn't have given us access to that.
Yeah. I was pretty much dying to try out my new knowledge. In fact, talking about NHS professionals, another message has just come here. Sorry, I can't, whoever sent the message in, I can't actually see the names just come up as that Facebook user. But going through the NHS professionals rigmarole, too desperate, imagine very desperate to help. My application started in November, and that seems to be about the average time frame. But I have seen a few sort of colleagues that I know who are literally already starting on the wards. Well, look, I can't. We're just come up to half an hour, and that went really, really quick. Any crew watching who are going through this at the moment, you can carry on messaging after the show, and hopefully other colleagues will jump in and jump out. If you can get an invite to this Facebook group, please take it up, because they should be able to answer all your questions on there. That's it. Ladies and say, it's coming up to half an hour now. It's gone really, really quick. Any last comments, please? Natalie, I'll start with you, please.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, like I say, we're just happy that we're now able to roll the vaccine out to our patients. It just feels like we're kind of getting back to normality a bit. So bring it on. Let's just get it done, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kelly?
Yeah, same here. You know, with 15 million rollout right now, just use us vaccinators, get the country vaccinated a lot quicker. I want to go on holiday in August. I want to get back flying in the skies. And, you know, what a great skill set it would be to have a vaccinator, you know, if you had that on your CV, and something to use, you know, for many years to come. Not everybody wants to fly forever. So to be able to access this without having to go to college as a cabin crew member, I'd just say stick in, because I'm going to. Yeah,
I was going to say, in fact, I was going to ask you about your future. If it did go well in the NHS, would you stay with the NHS, or would you really like to go back flying?
I would just do both. I'd try to run
why not?
Each other. Yeah, I would just, you know, if you're entering into a bank, you never know what's gonna happen in life. So, but I definitely want to continue flying. I need to get to 25 years like you, Trevor. I need a lounge pass.
Oh, well, you say that, only just. If I can hang on till May, I get my 25 years. I'm not quite yet. In fact, in some respects, it couldn't have come at the worst time, really, because, you know, I'm 24 years and a few months. And someone above's trying to rub it in, aren't they? But, hopefully I'll get to that 25 years. Well, ladies, thank you both for joining us. In fact, before I get messages are coming on time, let me just see, we've got the new ones. There you go. This is one for Kelly. Kelly, I was offered Essex and I live near Brighton, so still still waiting. Honestly, all been brilliant. I was going to say, thanks you to Simon, by the way. He's managed to increase the Not Just crew by nearly 300 members this week. So thank you so much on that. With these shows, we're trying to keep them a bit shorter because we know you've all got really, really busy lives at the moment. This discussion will probably carry on online as well. Chat to each other. It's the only way we're sort of going to get to the bottom of this. But please stay patient. I know many of you have applied and waiting to say that last one since November, pretty much about the same time as me as well. But yeah, it will happen. In fact, I pretty much check my email box every day just to see if anything comes up from the NHS professionals. But yeah, once again, thank you very much, guys. Join us next Monday. On Saturday, you've got Simon's Saturday summary again. And until then, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.
Not Just Crew has been internationally inspired by you.